She's worked in private practice, she's worked for the city of Austin, she's worked for the Texas Attorney General's office. Again, she has the experience that we want, that this community needs, and that we deserve to have. And so with your help, Laurie Eiserloh will be the next county attorney. Please welcome her.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I cannot tell you how delighted I am to see each and every one of you and how much your support means to me. All of you, dear friends, I know you from so many different places, and it's just no matter what happens with this campaign, this election, this is a very special night, so thank you for that. Thank you, Nan, for a wonderful introduction. Anthony. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Betty, so much. Lovely, I really appreciate it. All of your words. Also, Diane Holloway, my original supporter. I think she and Dr. Blevins, and Drew Williams were probably the first few people I talked to about this. Also, of course, Jess Chapin, my lovely wife, and my children, Oliver and Helen. I appreciate you all being here. And a big special thank you to my treasurer, Cecilia Burke, who keeps me energized every day. If you ever want to get something done, ask Cecilia Burke and she will make sure you do it. So thank you, Cecilia, for all that you do. I met many of you all back in the early 1990s, right after I graduated from the University of Texas School of Law. At that time, I had graduated from UT Law School, but I wasn't yet a practicing lawyer. I was the director of the Lesbian and Gay Rights Lobby of Texas. And you all remember Glenn Maxey, right? And then he ran for legislature and then left me. There's a director. So at that point, it was a really tough time in the legislature. At that time we said lesbian and gay, and it would be LGBTQ, but at the time lesbian and gay, tough times. Y'all young people, there was no same-sex marriage on the horizon. No way. This was like, you watched that movie about East Berlin called The Lives of Others? That's kind of how it was for us. We were second-class citizens. You would go to even other states, and sometimes if they had like a little, like some domestic partner or something, it was like you crossed the Mason-Dixon line. It was like that. It was really tough times for us. And how much has changed? Thank goodness it's changed. Well, one of the things the legislature used to do in that day was zero budget AIDS funding, And I remember one day the legislator said to Glenn and me, money for AIDS is like money down a rat hole. Okay? So that's the type of fight that was on. Well, ACT UP came the next day dressed like rats, but it was tough. Because we were the people right in the little blue suits having to talk with these guys. So we would fight like hell. Jana Zumbrun, some of y'all remember Jana Zumbrun when she was the director of AIDS Services of Austin. I was on the board of AIDS Services of Austin. We would do something called the full court press. And hey, I was a 26-year-old lawyer with a number of people who did not feel their best, quite honestly, helping me. But we would go to the Capitol, we'd go to those committee hearings, we'd go to offices, we would fight like hell, and we got that AIDS funding restored, not once, but twice while I was there. So that was a great victory for us. But we had another goal, and that was the repeal of something that was called 2106 of the Penal Code. It basically made illegal intimate contact between people of the same gender. That's what it said, but what it was used for was to discriminate against gay and lesbian people in employment, right? That's what the actual effect of it was. So we were always trying to get this thing repealed. Trying. Well, one day, we did have an opportunity to do it, and we got it actually through the Senate, which was a big deal. Betty Naylor and I, y'all remember Betty Naylor? Of course you do. Yeah, she was a dear, dear friend of mine. She and I were up there talking to all the legislators. We managed to get all our votes lined up in the Senate. And Ann Richards called us in, and she said, "What's going on with your legislation?" I said, "Well, Governor, we've got our votes in the Senate." I remember she looked at me and she said, "What have you been smoking?" I think, Governor, it's illegal to smoke that in this state. But we didn't get our votes in the House. And in fact, if you've seen the Molly Ivins movie, that's that footage with Deborah Danberg, that was from the fight in the House, which we lost. So yeah, that was a pretty big disappointment to lose the battle on 2106. And in fact, it wasn't actually repealed until 2003 by the United States Supreme Court in a case called Lawrence versus Texas. So it took some bigger powers than us to get that done. But I tell you, that was pretty hard loss. It hurt. But you know, I'll tell you, that's something about being a fighter. You don't get to be a good fighter if you always win, right? You have to fall down, you have to take the hard knocks sometimes, but the trick is getting up the next day and going back and doing it again, right? That's what makes someone who is an advocate. So after I left the Lesbian and Gay Rights Lobby of Texas, needing some health insurance benefits, quite honestly, I went to work for the state of Texas in one of their really tough litigation divisions. Nan, who's here today, convinced me that I probably had some transferable skills as a trial lawyer, and I did. Thank you, Nan, you were right. So I went to work there and started trying those tough cases, and all in the really intense state litigation divisions, tort litigation, general litigation, law enforcement defense, in federal court, in state court. That's where I got the board certifications. Fighting on appeal, fighting in the Fifth Circuit. These were tough cases. Well, and then I went from there to the private sector, same type of thing, City of Austin, where my practice went into all kinds of land use, environmental. This is where I know Laura Morrison from, was working with the neighborhoods, trying to find a good result. And the other thing you learn when you really get out in the trenches and start fighting is that sometimes, you know what? It's better not to haul people into the courtroom. Sometimes, before you get to that point, you might want to sit down at a table and see if you can't figure things out. And sometimes you can. And when that's the case, that can be the best result. Again, there's no way to learn that other than doing it, right? So this is persistence, folks. Persistence. That's the key to being the advocate. So about 10 years ago, I went to work for Travis County Attorney's Office, doing labor and employment and then federal civil rights and back to labor and employment. And let me tell you, Travis County's got some good old fights out there. You remember the SB 4 fight where we're all defending Sally Hernandez with her very moral decision, where she was really trying to protect undocumented people? The county attorney's office was behind. We were the ones out there helping with that. When Sarah and Suzanne, when they were the first women in the state, first same-sex couple in the state to get married, the county attorney's office was there helping the judge, Judge Walbert, and helping Dana de Beauvoir, right? Because the Republicans, they don't give this stuff up easily, right? Judge Walbert just doesn't jump out one day and say, "This is a great idea, let's do it." No, we have to be there, cutting the path, right? That's the county attorney's job on the civil side, is to cut that path, to make it possible for elected officials to get to accomplish their policy goals. I don't know if any of you all saw the press release today, but there's a quote in there from Commissioner Bridget Shea, and she's supporting it. She's making supportive statements about my campaign, saying, you know what? This planet is burning up. It is time that we join with other counties around the country in suing people who are causing climate change. So again, this is not something that's going to come easily. It's going to be a good old tough fight, let me tell you. But I'm ready for that. And Commissioner Shea is ready for that. And if the Commissioner's Court says go, the county attorney's office will be there that first day fighting on your behalf, suing corporations that are burning down our forest, causing rain bombs in our neighborhood, causing flood control projects that just a few years ago would have cost maybe $3 million and now cost $13 million. Yeah, there's a lot at stake here. So, the other issue you all have probably been hearing about is criminal justice reform. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it touches us until it really does. And there are some things that we can do in the county attorney's office and the family violence courts, also in just the intake provision. It's going to make that system more fair. It's going to make it more fair for victims and witnesses. It's going to make it more fair for people who have been accused and, quite frankly, sometimes falsely accused of crimes. We don't need to let every single dog case in this town jump into our file cabinet. We can do some intake up front and keep some of them out. Every time we open a file, that's someone's life at stake right there. Then they've got something on their record. We need to be far more expeditious in our use of those things. So. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. A lot of folks here tonight are from many wonderful communities, but let me tell you, one of the communities represented here is St. David's Trinity Center, which is a homeless shelter. You all, I'm sure, know it. It's just on that corner, right at Trinity and Brazos? 7th and Trinity. It's a project of St. David's Episcopal Church under the umbrella of it, but a lot of us do work there. Jess and I, on the really cold nights, we're actually down there making dinner and actually sleeping with those, with the homeless people who stay in that shelter at night. Y'all, we've got a homelessness problem in Austin, and I'll tell you what, if you know the history, and I don't need to go into it right now, that history, it dates back to some policy decisions and some court decisions. We need to get the Medicaid dollars restored to the state of Texas. We need to remind legislators of promises they made back in the late 80s when they essentially closed the mental hospitals. That funding, that state funding that they promised, it needs to come back to our community. The federal government that cut housing under Ronald Reagan, huge cuts to housing. It used to be that, at least in this country, you had some hope of having a clean and safe place to live until all the federal housing funding started getting cut. There's a lot that needs to be done. And how exactly that's going to happen, I think still remains to be seen. And I think some people in this room who are far smarter than I am and far more well-connected will probably be part of those solutions. But we need someone in the county attorney's office who, quite frankly, has the experience to be able to put that together. So for these reasons, I am running for your county attorney. It is not the district attorney, not Margaret. No way. She handles felonies. We handle civil and misdemeanor. It's David Escamilla, who's retiring. I'm going to be on the ballot on March 3rd. This will all be over in the Democratic primary. And I've got to have your support to be successful. I think we've got a very good shot, but I need each one of you to give your time and your talent and your money. We can get this done together and have a strong voice for change and an advocate in the office of county attorney.